Right, now it's time for the papers on this Thursday morning. We do that in the company of David Wooding and Liz Kershaw. Very nice to see you both. And David, with your political hat on, this Lord Geit and the ethics minister, so he says he's had enough of trying to advise Boris Johnson on ethics.
Yes, a bit of a weird one, this, Eamonn, because it's 3 times we've heard Lord Geit say that he's been considering his resignation. I mean, he did it in December last year when, over the refurb of number 10, said the Prime Minister hadn't handed him an important text message, which was important to his investigation. And then in his annual report 2 weeks ago, he said he had considered resigning over the Partygate, and then he said it before a committee on Tuesday. But he hadn't resigned in any of these cases. Now suddenly he resigns and doesn't say why. So there's a bit of a strange one. This, if he'd done it a week or 2 ago, it might have had an impact on the no confidence vote.
Well, you guys, in the lobby, you'll all be asking questions, or you all have your own personal conclusions with all of this. And the obvious conclusion with the second ethics minister resigning is that ethics and the name Boris Johnson don't sit well together.
No, absolutely right. I mean, it's the second one he's lost in 18 months. Allen went in not so long ago. It's also said, though, that Lord Geit had asked, that number 10 was saying yesterday that Lord Geit had asked to stay on for another 6 months, only recently. So this is shrouded in mystery. We need to get to Lord Geit and find out really what this is all about. If it was all about ethics, why doesn't he say?
It seems very unethical for a resignation about ethics. Resigning because he doesn't think his boss is ethical, but then won't be accountable to the public on why he's going.
The timing of it is just so bizarre, isn't it? Because obviously it suggests that Partygate was the straw that broke the camel's back. Yes. But this was, 2 weeks ago when we were having this.
Why? And if he felt so strongly about it, why did he not go then? Is there something else we don't know about? Has something happened?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
That's the story for us to find out this weekend.
I don't think it's what's going to be bothering people in Wigan.
But that's not the point. The point is you got 2 ethics.
Sorry, Dad.
Look, sorry, everybody laughs at this. You've got a man who seems to be devoid of any sort of rules and standards. He leads the country, and we all just dismiss it. Oh, that's Boris.
No, I don't dismiss it.
But I do think there is this tone that people just think it's not important. You said it's not important to people in Wigan.
It's not the top of their agenda, is it? That not who's running the country, but this guy's resignation is not important to people who are trying.
If it was to reflect that man there is a lying, scheming, no good, do you not think that reflects, and people should be literally worried about that? I suppose it falls into the point, some people will care and some people wouldn't, but I would care if it was a headmaster or mistress of my school. I would care if it was a clergy leader. I would care if it was a police officer. There's so many people in society that I would expect more from. Am I not supposed to expect it from a Prime Minister?
Yeah, but don't get your blood pressure up, because what I was saying was, this particular character,
we never heard of.
We never heard of him. So I'm not saying it's not important. I'm saying that if you're waking up and you're going on a 12-hour shift in a warehouse on minimum wage and 0 hours contracts and all the rest of it, and your car's costing £103 to fill up, and your food bill's going up £500 a year, is this the most important thing?
If this was your job and this was happening to you, you'd be saying to yourself, how am I staying in a job when all these people are casting doubt over my character? Any normal person would say there are too many questions against me and I'm not qualified for this job. Sorry, is it just me?
No, it's undoubted that the Prime Minister has had a barrage of complaints, and he's open to question over his trustworthiness.
I get that this fella's saying...
This is another arrow in his back, if you like.
This fella's had all right, I've dealt with wallpaper. I've ruled that, no harm was done, no rules were broken. I've dealt with, there's another matter in another article. I've brushed that aside, I've covered up that one. Now I've had to comment further on Partygate. I've been refused access to evidence such as texts and emails, etc. You know what? I can take this job and shove it. I get that. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of people who are struggling with immediate issues, and watching from outside, it may seem like this is a Westminster drama that won't directly impinge on people's lives.
All right, I'm sorry, I just must be alone in this. I just think, you know, if you've elected this man to be the leader of the country, and he's got 2 ethics ministers that say he's not trustworthy, he tells lies, he doesn't produce the goods and things, he's not worth working for. Sorry, I stand alone then. That's
No, you don't stand alone.
I'm sorry, I just
said if you know, any normal person, so obviously I'm not normal to think I don't give much concern to this particular fella going, it's a huge issue.
I think the point is it's not a good look for Boris Johnson.
No,
The second ethics advisor to go in just over 2 years.
But he doesn't care.
Well,
I mean, he's not going to walk away, is he? He's not going to resign over this.
Well, he's survived that vote, and he's going to go on for another year.
I mean, how much of an impact will this even have, really? Because it's 2 weeks on from when this was the top of people's agenda, and it was what everybody was caring about.
What I was surprised about was, you know, we had that bombshell barely a week ago on the Monday morning that the chair of the Backbench 22 committee, Graham Brady, said he'd had enough letters in, and there would be a vote of confidence that night. Before the weekend was out, that story was gone. It was just fizzled out. Nobody was talking about it anymore. He just sort of rode the storm so quickly.
Well, the public will decide. You know, they'll have their votes on it.
2 by-elections next week.
We'll get some indication of that. We've got the Justice Secretary, Dominic Raab, on at about 8:45 this morning, and you have a story. Well, it's front page of the Mail.
Yeah.
They're saying Raab's threat to ignore Euro court rulings. Tell us more.
Well, the distinction's been made. I was watching yesterday. This is nothing to do with the EU. This is the European Court of Human Rights, which was formed at the end of the Second World War to make sure that people in Europe treated each other with humanity and consideration and legally. And all the major European countries have signed up to it. And it has got the power to overrule even the Supreme Court in the United Kingdom, which it did this week on the departure of those flights to Rwanda. It ruled that they were not allowed to leave until there'd been a full judicial hearing in the UK on this, so it stalled that. So there was a lot of outrage yesterday, people saying, you know, who runs this country? Are we a sovereign state, or are we still ruled by Europe? The fact of the matter is that we can ignore the European Court of Human Rights. Apparently, we adhere to their decisions 90% of the time, but France only does 72% of them, Germany 63%, and Spain just puts a finger up at them all the time and only adheres 39% of the time. So you can go against their rulings, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, the whole shipping human beings to a different continent is a very unedifying sight, but I absolutely think that we have to somehow stop thousands of people, more than 10,000 so far this year, turning up on the beaches of Kent. I was in a crowd last night of 5,000, and I just looked round and thought, so 2 times the number of people I can see now have come into the country in dinghies. And yesterday, I don't know, I'll read the details for the next lot, but yesterday boats were landing in Devon. Now, you can't possibly cross from Brittany, for example, or Normandy in France, that distance in one of those dinghies, because they're not even proper vessels. They've been manufactured in China, mass manufactured, and they've just got like hardboard bottoms. They're not really seaworthy crafts. Yeah, so how do you get to Devon? And I think that it's been quite a bit of it's been, it's just that corner down in Kent. If this spreads across the south coast, I think the public will get increasingly angry. So, you know,
I mean, it is something that needs to be dealt with, isn't it? And the government have said that they want these flights to take off on that matter of principle. They just want to break that human trafficking ring that is operating in the channel. We know how dangerous it is. Priti Patel saying this morning that a second flight is already being prepared. And Boris Johnson saying that nothing is off the table, that the EU could withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights. Do you think we could actually see that happening?
Well, I mean, Michael Gove, when he was Justice Secretary, was working on a UK Bill of Rights, and Dominic Raab has said he's going to do something about this. But leaving the European Convention of Human Rights would be a big step, because it was set up, as Liz says, to stop abuse of people's lives, in the wake of the war. But the problem with it is, it's human rights has become an industry now. It's big money for lawyers. It's being used for not things that I and many people see as human rights. I thought it was about people in Soviet Union who were denied freedom of speech, who were locked up for opposing the government of the day, people in China who were tortured, that sort of thing, who were fleeing oppression. It's being used for all sorts of ridiculous reasons now, like a democratically elected government legitimately sending illegal migrants abroad, and they're now using it to block it. So who runs the country? The lawyers or the government? And of course, we had it through our own legal system. It went through the High Court, the Appeal Court, and the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, and it was open decisions by judges who were named, telling us the reasons. The Home Office were allowed to go in and put up their cases. The activist lawyers were allowed to put up their cases, and decisions were reached. Then, in the middle of the night, a secret court in the EU, the European Court of Human Rights, without naming the judge who said it, says no, it can't happen.
Yeah, and in the past, they've. Do you remember when Theresa May had all that trouble extraditing Abu Hamza to the United States? And on one occasion, he was given compensation, awarded compensation by the European Court of Human Rights. On another, it was blocked from being deported to the United States. So she won that in the end, but it took quite a struggle, didn't it?
Now, talking about compensation, this is front page of the Times, and it's about batteries on iPhones.
Yes.
And it's saying that Apple misled customers over an upgrade that actually slowed your phone battery down.
So, yeah, I thought, oh, this doesn't affect me, but then I saw it goes right back to the iPhone 6. Can you believe I'm saying that? The iPhone 6, it's so, 20th century. But I think now, well, could I get compensation? You can get 60 or 70 quid if you can show that. I don't know how you're going to go about proving that. If it showed it caused you problems, you can get hundreds of pounds if it shows that as a result of this, you had to actually replace your phone. So this, you did an upgrade on your iPhone, plug it in overnight, and it was designed, it's alleged, to reduce your battery life so that you would upgrade. That happened to me at that time.
So many people.
Yeah.
This has definitely happened to me.
Yeah, suddenly my battery just didn't last. And the worst thing was, and it was really scary, I'm no shrinking violet, but I was at a festival, I've been comparing it, and I was the last person on the stage seeing everybody off. The lights were going down, good night, have a safe journey home. All the artists had left. I was backstage, I couldn't find anybody. I didn't know where I was staying. I didn't know what my transport was. Yeah. My phone had just died in an afternoon. I hadn't been using it, and I had no means of communicating with the outside world in the dark, and all the lights were gone. And I thought, right, and the next day I went and got a new phone. So I think this must affect a lot of people, don't you?
We'll be putting in claims for compensation.
Yeah, that's practical articles. If you've got an iPhone, that's struggling with its battery life, or has done since the iPhone 6, then you might be entitled to hundreds of pounds. Definitely one of them.
David, Liz, thank you very much indeed. The guys will be back in 45 minutes.